everyone, it's Jessica. I am here today with a video for the Close to My Heart Twisted Sisters YouTube hop. Now for my twist, I'm going to be using this stamp set from the Sweet as Honey card making workshop kit, and I am going to use it in a different way. So I've already made my cards, and you do get to make 16 cards with this particular workshop. You get 4 of each of these designs, and they were really pretty and a lot of fun to make, but I'm going to use the stamp set to create a one-page scrapbooking layout instead. And in addition to making it a scrapbooking page, I thought I would draw a little bit of inspiration from 2 of these cards. I really loved how they have this vertical piece over to the side, and that there's been some paper tearing, and then there are the other strips of paper next to it. So I thought I would use that inspiration and then a bunch of the different elements from the stamp set for my twist. All right, to add on to this, I am using some papers from the Sweet as Honey collection, which is new for January and February. And then I found this pin on Pinterest that I thought would help me to, work with that inspiration from the cards that I had. And so I'm going to put my papers over here to the right side, and I'm going to do some of that paper tearing. And then you can see over to the side there that I've already gone ahead and used some of the thin cuts that came with this stamp set. And I cut out a bunch of the cute little honeycomb pieces, and then I have a couple of the bees, and then there's also this really fun little ticket piece. And then additionally, I did use my stitch bracket and some of the Picture My Life cards to cut some of those things out. So I'm just really drawing from all of the different parts of this Sweet as Honey collection, and like I said, using that card making workshop stamp set for a scrapbook page, because I know it's not, too terribly twisted. Some of the other ladies that participate in this hop, they are so creative and able to think out of the box in such a unique way. But for me, when I think of a twist, I think of, if I'm going to buy a product, I want to be able to use it beyond its intended use. And so for me, a card making workshop stamp set is fun to make those cards, and those cards definitely do come in handy. But how am I going to use it after that point? And so that's what's really important to me. So I hope you guys feel inspired by this particular layout as it comes together. All right, now this piece that I have in my hand here is one of the 4x6 Picture My Life cards. And then those 2 yellow pieces, this bracket and then that ticket, I cut out of one of the 3x4 Picture My Life cards. And so that was just a fun way to use some more pattern papers that coordinated with the Sweet as Honey paper collection. And then I'm going to use this one, which is also one of the Picture My Life cards, and cut this pennant banner into the end of it, and then stick that underneath where that bracket is. And I'm really just, like I said, kind of mimicking what I'm seeing on that Pinterest pin. Now I want to come back to the stamp set because I love all of the images that are on here. And before I glue anything down, I know I want to use this block of text stamp, and I want to put it somewhere on the white daisy part of my page, maybe like sticking out from underneath these papers. It's probably next to the bee, my favorite stamp on this set. It's just this block of text, and it's really got an old newspaper kind of feel to it. It's really cool. So I decide to put it over to the left hand there, and I'm just making a little pencil mark for myself. That way I can stamp it, straight, even though it's going on a diagonal. And the cool thing about this particular stamp is it's really forgiving to, layer it up in this way. So there were a couple parts where I accidentally overlapped my stamp a little bit, but it was fine. It kind of went right with the look. And so it's very easy to stamp multiple times with that particular stamp. Okay, before I again glue anything down, I'm going to finish my background page here by adding some sparkles, some splatters from my black shimmer brush. And then I have adhered everything off camera. So now, using some of those different elements from that card making stamp set, I'm just going to use them as my embellishments. So my favorites are these little honeycomb pieces. They're so fun. And so I'm going to kind of put them around the corners of my photos. And then there's also a little cluster down in the bottom left part of this layout. And I'm going to add some down there as well. And then one of the things that the card making workshop kit had you do is to save the little hexagons that fall out of those honeycombs, and then to put them back in. Not all of them, but a couple of them here and there. And so I did that as well. All right, now I'm going to stamp on that ticket piece that came with the stamp set. And this particular stamp is really thin, so just be careful when you're pulling it off because you don't want to accidentally rip it. So I always walk those kind of stamps off with my fingers. And then I've stamped that, and I'm going to add that to that bottom cluster that's down there. And then I also wanted to add a bracket or a frame, and I had this really old stamp set called Frame of Mind. If you've been around Close to My Heart for a while, you might recognize it, but this worked perfectly. So before I glue those pieces down, I stamped that directly onto my page as well. And then I just layer a partial zip strip and then that little ticket over the top of it. And then later on off camera, I am going to stamp the date into that white space that's left inside that bracket. And that just ended up being a really nice way to kind of frame the date in. So yeah, I was happy to be able to go into my stash and use something that I haven't used in a really long time. So that was a lot of fun. And then that zip strip, a 1/2 inch was just covering a little bit too much space. And so I put about half of it on, and then I cut the other half off. So that way it was a much skinnier strip. And then I didn't want to throw that away. And so I think I end up putting that up by my photo over top of that pennant banner and saving that little piece and using it again later. And so here I'll put another one of those honeycomb pieces down there. And I haven't stamped my bees yet. I'll end up doing that later off camera. But I will stamp some bees, which is probably my other favorite stamp on this stamp set, and putting those on with some foam dots around the page as well. So I thought that I would tell you a little bit about these pictures and why I chose to use this particular stamp set, even though it's for cards, for these pictures. So this is from my daughter Hadley's last day of school this past summer. And, you know, last year was definitely an interesting year, what with COVID, and there were lots of interruptions with quarantines and, you know, having to wear masks at school, and then even some remote learning at one point. And so we were just really excited, you know, we're always excited for the end of the school year, but we were just really excited for the end of that particular school year and ready to kind of move on to some more normal school. And so that's kind of been the inspiration for this particular stamp set, because there is another stamp on there that says always remembered, never forgotten, which obviously when you're making cards is something that would go for a sympathy card. But when I saw that, I thought, you know what, I'm going to use it to document that last day of school, because it was definitely a school year that will always be remembered and never forgotten. And so that was just an additional twist. I'm going to end up stamping that here a little bit later. But that was just another twist. So taking something that's meant to make a sympathy card and then using it to document the last day of school on a scrapbooking page instead. So like I said, I'm not super creative when it comes to twisting some of these products, unlike some of the other ladies who are playing along in the YouTube hop. But that was just kind of where my mind went. And, you know, like I said, I like to get my money's worth. If I'm going to buy a product, then I want to make sure it's something that I can use over and over again in lots of different ways. So as another part of this Sweet as Honey collection, there are these really fun cork shapes that you can get. And I thought I would sprinkle some of those around my page. And so I'm keeping in mind that visual triangle. And so I knew immediately where I wanted to put some over to that top right of my photo, and then also in that bottom cluster. I did struggle a little bit with kind of figuring out where to put the third point of those cork shapes, and I end up using 2 of those bracket pieces to frame in my title. So here I'm just kind of pulling those off, and I think, yes, that's definitely going to work. And then off camera, I will work on my title, because I was trying to film it, but I kept sticking my head in the way, trying to see where I was putting my stamps. So I just cut that part out. But I did stamp with excitement. And then on my Cricut, I cut out, and I want to say I was using the Artiste collection from Close to My Heart. I used that font to cut out buzzing. So it's going to say buzzing with excitement. And then I'm going to talk about the last day of school and why we were so excited for the last day of school in my journaling at the bottom of the page. And so a couple more stamps here from this collection that I want to pull in, just so I'm really using as much as I can from that card making stamp set. There is that bee. Like I said, he is my favorite. I have him on some of the matching thin cuts, but then I wanted him coming off of the top of my title as well. And I gave him his little, you know, flying zigzag piece. And then there's also this little piece that says happy birthday. And obviously this has nothing to do with the birthday. So I just masked off the birthday part and I stamped the happy. And then I will pull that mask off. And then I'm going to stamp happy. I wasn't really sure where at first, but I ended up putting it onto that one piece of pattern paper that has all the bees on it. Later, I realized that was not such a good idea because I stamped it in a bad spot. It was right over top of a bee, and then you couldn't see it very well. But and then there's another little strip of text on there, and I just kind of put those over on my bracket. So that's it. I hope you guys have enjoyed watching and that you love the Sweet as Honey collection and card making workshop kit and stamp as much as I do. There are so many other talented ladies playing along this hop. Make sure that you check them all out. Miranda Weber is also doing her video today as well. All right, guys, that's it for me. If you see anything like, make sure that you check out my website. Happy crafting. Bye.